Now that Ryder's here, we'll do it. Let's see, Kevin. Okay. Alec. Hey, Alec.
Hey, Patrick, how are you?
Good. I'm good, thanks. So I'm having the temporary chair of our department gets to do all the fun stuff like evaluate the teachers. So I swear he just did it last year. That department's so insane. Anyway, he's coming tonight. Hey, Hugo. So, hey, Lindsay. So,
Hi, good evening.
so when I ask questions, if you know the answer, make sure you speak out. So it looks like we actually have a dialogue going here. We do, it just could be a little more active. They have nothing against me, so I have nothing to fear. They can fire me anytime they want.
Would you mind allowing multi-pin for Hugo
I thought-
and myself?
Oh, I got you, I thought, didn't I?
Perfect. I
But
hadn't
I
checked
don't have
yet.
Hugo yet. That's
Okay,
right.
if you could add Hugo too, and Katie's going to be joining in about an hour, so when she
Okay.
arrives.
Now on Hugo's, it says don't allow to multi-pin, so is you asking if his is on?
I'm checking. Yeah, one
Yeah.
sec. No, it's not working for me, he said.
Huh. Oh, there it is. Okay, now it should be.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I try to get him, but I get talking and I get distracted. You know how it is. Okay. So my department chair is coming at 6:30. So we got a little time to goof around. So any issues, problems with the class or with the world or with your family? You know, we do pandemic counseling here at school in every class.
It's a one-stop shop.
Yes. That's the future. Everything's a one-stop shop. No, everything's good, huh?
Yeah. Busy.
Yeah,
Pretty windy.
windy and busy. It's true. Okay, so let's talk about the homework, which only a few of you did, which is okay, but we're going to go over it anyway. So I'm going to share the screen for that. Hold on. Oh, yeah, okay. Ah.
Are we supposed to be seeing something?
No, not yet. It's getting there. Okay, so in your file, do y'all see the Canvas page?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I added the homework I stole John's homework. He sent it in. Because I like to steal things from students. So this was his sketch of the views of that floor plan that we did. Remember? This was the east view was the one we talked about where John said, no, the roof goes out a little bit more. This building sticks out here. We don't have the floor plan, but so your thing should look like this. The roof should be a gable roof on this little piece that sticks out. That's this piece here. And then then there's a long gable roof. On the far side, it doesn't have any other roof sticking out. And then it'll have whatever windows and doors are on that side. Okay? Everybody got that? So you can, if you've done it, and you should do it, you can compare it to this to see how you did. And then the second one, Alec did it, but I couldn't get a, now what do you suppose is wrong with this? But I couldn't get it, I couldn't fit Alex on the screen, so I'm going to use John's. But this was that bathroom that it showed you a plan view, and then it wanted you to convert it to a elevation, interior elevation, or section, however you want to call it. So this was the room. It was 8'1" tall. They gave that. It was 8 foot across. I think maybe
8'6". It's on the top.
Oh yeah, 8'6". Thanks. Yeah, 8'6". Yeah, these are. See, this line here should have a space because that's an extension line. Like it should be like this. Yeah, so the mirror was 4x4. There was that soffit that's coming toward us here, a foot, and then it goes in a foot. And then this was splash. John, you could have put some tile marks on here, or
Next one.
marbling or something. Yeah. So that was a splash below the mirror, and below that was a cabinet with 2 doors, and the countertop to the cabinet, toe kick, and then this is the toilet. This is an old primitive toilet that's square. What's the matter? That program we have doesn't draw curves.
It's called laziness.
No, I got it. Totally. It was either a toilet or a trash can, with the little, where you push in the. I figured it was a toilet. Okay, and he's even got his scale here. Great. So that's
it's a modern toilet, like clean lines.
Oh yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah.
Modern outhouse.
Modern outhouse. So those are homework 1 and 2 in your file drawer. So that's where you can access it. And we'll go back. To this view. So let's do foundations. We got foundations and details tonight, yeah? So we'll do, we'll start with foundations. So I'm gonna go to Shumash 1 on the shared screen, but if you wanna get it yourself on a screen, and then I'm going to go to the second Shumash. So, everybody ready? Of course you are. And I don't want to do that. I want to do this. And then I want to get rid of this. Okay, can you see this set of elevations here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. So we're going to look at these details later after foundation. But look at those. That's a page full of details for you. And here's the foundation plan. It's under structural 1. And let's go in a little bit. So see these circles here?
Professor, before you continue, when you say see these here, would you mind instead saying something like, if you see at the top left corner, something like that, because the cursor is hard to see. So
Oh,
I'm not sure where
okay.
you're pointing.
Okay.
Would you mind?
Okay, no, thank you. Sure. So
Thanks.
top left corner, you see the cursor up there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's a circle that says 15 SD1.
Mhm.
So that's a detail marker. And it means you go to the print that's labeled SD1, which we'll look at in a second. Actually, we won't because this is a different. Yeah, we don't have the, this is not the Chumash. This is the first Chumash set has a bunch of separate prints in it. So there's no other print than this of this house, the McClellan house, except for this foundation. So we'll just look at this. But you would go to page SD1 and number 15. It would be divided up like that page we just saw. And then you'd have various 6, 15, 5, various numbers of the drawings. Let's see, anything else on this plan? Now let's just go. Now you can see this plan, right?
Yes.
Does it take up the whole screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got to go down to S2. Don't get dizzy. So S2 right there, structural 2. See at the bottom, foundation plan.
Yeah.
Boy, it's too bad. Does anybody know if these cursors can be colored? I guess that would be on my side, wouldn't it? My computer. Wouldn't it be great to have a red or blue cursor?
It'd be nice.
It depends which system you're on, Patrick, but there generally is a way to do it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can make
I'd
it
have to
look
go-
like whatever you can imagine.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've been led to believe. So maybe I'll fool around this weekend and see if I can find it. Okay, so now let's look at some of the details in this. So look at this on the upper middle of this toward the top here. Can you see that where I am, where the cursor is? It's between the 4 and the 5. It's up toward the top border, just to the right of this shear wall schedule. Do you see this area?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a hexagon here, right? So
Yeah,
architects use different, often they use circles, and the split is just the set of the print number underneath. Like here's S5, and the number of the drawing on that page is above. That's really typical of details, and we'll look at those in a little bit. But can anybody try to figure out what this 1/11 feet is here? This hexagon symbol? Any ideas?
It looks like a reference to a window table.
That's a good guess, but that's not what it is. Now, this is a foundation plan, so it wouldn't really have window stuff. It actually shouldn't have this either, what this is going to turn out to be.
It's like a
So-
for a stem wall or
Yeah, it's for a shear wall.
shear wall.
Yeah, so the,
What does it say under the 1? I can't read it.
11
it says,
feet.
can you see it now?
Yeah.
11 feet, and this one here says 7 feet to the right of it.
Which
And
is
then down
three on
here,
top.
yeah, on the front, it says 6.5 feet. Then down below here, it says 13 feet. So they're all different footage lengths. And here, if you look at this shear wall schedule to the left, it gives you the symbol and the key. So the shear wall designation means there's 3 different types of shear walls they're using in this building. It isn't always something you would have on a foundation because it's not really part of the foundation.
Hey,
But-
Pat,
Yes,
can you zoom into the schedule a little bit more so
Sure.
we can read
Yeah.
it?
yeah, you got to let me know because
There you go.
how's that?
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay, let me raise it just a little. Oh, darn. And then we can see this on the lower right, that's 1/6.5 feet. Okay. So 1 will be whether it's this wall here, and if there were 2 on top, it would be this wall here. And there are 2s in the plans. We just didn't look at it yet. And the 3 would be this bottom one. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then under the line, the middle line on the bottom of the hex is the footage, how feet long the wall is. So down here on the right, below the schedule, you can see a little corner of the house here, the 1/6.5. So that means that shear wall is going to go from the corner of the building 6.5 feet this way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Often shear walls are at the corners, but not always. We'll look and see where there's one that's not on the corner, but usually they're on corners like this one. So let's look at the difference, because this could be something you guys run into in your work. So, if you had to supervise a crew that was putting on shear wall, you'd have to, you'd probably take the plans home and you'd probably write out in pencil next to the thing, all this information, so they wouldn't have to go back and forth to the table, to the schedule. But, so let's look at some of this information. So it gives the thickness of the plywood, 15/32 ply, CDX, that's your worst grade, holes on both sides. And then it gives the nailing schedule, Tindy nails at 6 inches on center, edge nailing. So the EN stands for edge nailing, the FN stands for field nailing. So the edge nailing would be, I'll show you in a minute. If a piece of shear wall was up and down, like sometimes shear wall is, even if they sheathe sideways. So the up and down, that there would be like, if the studs were 16 on center, there'd be like 3 stud bays behind that piece of plywood. So you'd have, there'd be a stud on each edge and then 2 down in the field. So on that left and right edge, those would have to be 6-inch on center. Every 6 inches, you'd have to have a 10 penny nail. D stands for penny, 10 penny. That's the size of the nail, in case you're new at this. And then in the field, down the middle of the plywood, not on the edge, it would have to be every 12 inches on center, same size nail. Now, the second one that you can see, the only difference is the edge nailing is a little more frequent. So on the edge, you would have 4 inches on center as opposed to 6 inches. So that's an even tighter nailing. It's a stronger, it requires a slightly stronger wall. And then the last one is 3 inches on center. So that's the strongest. That's really getting nailing pretty close. They're all 12 inches in the field. You can see that they're really relying on those edges, the edge nailing, to really make it rigid. And the bottom one not only has 3 inches, but it requires, if you go across the table under top plate, it requires a 3 by top plate, and either a 2 by or a 3 by bottom plate, sill plate. So then they give you even more information, because these are called fasteners, right? Nails and screws, they fasten things together. The fastening, or the fasteners are really important now, in the present time of construction, more than they used to be. We used to just do 16 penny nails for everything, and if they were too big, we used 8 penny nails. Now it says use common nails only, do not use sinkers. Those are the green 16 penny. And the reason is, anybody know why they have that stipulation there? Anybody?
Sinkers are smaller diameter and shorter length.
Yes, yeah, sinkers are like, they're less than a common nail, less thickness. That's right. And they give you the actual diameter there. And then it has, for anchor bolts, it has used a 3 by 3 by 1/4 inch, the big square washers. Where nails are spaced closer than 6 inches on center, the nails shall be staggered. So I don't know, they're edge nailing, so I don't know. That means maybe from one to the other.
Sheet of plywood.
Yeah, from where the 2 plywood meet on the one, they're sharing one stud. I'll draw this out in a second. You put a nail in, and then instead of directly across the gap, where the next plywood is, you wouldn't nail it right there. You'd go up a little bit so that nothing was straight across from itself. I guess that holds it tighter. You can guess why they would have that. If Donna's here, maybe she knows.
Isn't it so you don't split the studs?
It could be till you don't split the stud, yeah. That's probably what it is. Now here's an interesting thing. Site-built shear walls to maintain a minimum 2-to-1 height to width ratio. So this means they have to be upright, right? If the height is twice the width, that means the 4x8 sheet's standing on the long ways up. That's a funny way to say that, isn't it?
Wait a second. So 2-to-1 height width. Okay, so that means it's standing straight, vertical versus.
Yeah. So it's interesting. The history of sheathing walls in general. In Maine, we used to sheathe them. Everything was standing up vertically, and then, but now in California, everybody does laterally,
So would that be-
horizontally.
That would be 1-to-2 height width ratio, or
Yeah,
well,
1 to 2. Yeah, exactly. 1 to 2 would be laying on sideways, long
Wow.
ways going across. And when they stagger those, that's probably a lot stronger than the vertical. But they want at least the shear panels, they want to be vertical. Yeah, they've got some other stuff for, oh yeah. For shear wall construction details, see detail 11 over S4. So we should go there just to check it out. And then it says where there's a 3 by sill, a 16 penny won't go through it enough. So you need to use a 20 penny for the thicker sills. Okay, so let's just real quick go to 11 over S4 in the details, because that's pretty interesting actually. What was that? No, this must be it here. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back in. I'm just getting my bearings here. Yeah, S4. It was S4. Was S4 11? Yeah.
yes.
So here's the page S4. You see, everybody see that?
Yeah.
That was
Yes.
on the bottom half of that circle, and the top half was 11. So we just look for 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Here we are. Plywood shear wall. So there's more information on how they want the shear wall. Can you guys see that okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So continuous 2 by top plate and a 3 by or 4 by where it's noted. See, okay, now this, I don't like the way they do this, but see this line here, this diagonal line?
Uh-huh.
That's to designate the size of the plywood. So this looks like because this looks like a 4 by 4 sheet, although it may just be the way they drew it. Usually the line will be at more of an angle because it's covering a 4 by 8 sheet sideways. So, but that doesn't matter. But that's what those lines are when you see those. We'll look at other places. And then they have, for the shear panel, they have it going vertically, like they said, 2-to-1 height to width ratio. So this is the bay where this 4 by 8 sheet of shear wall is going to go. And it's going to have, here's where the staggered nails are, right? There's one stud and there's this plywood going halfway over it and the shear panel going halfway over it. So the nails are not across from each other. They're staggered. See that? That's what that note on staggering the nails meant. They also say 3/8 minimum edge distribution type typical. So that means, what do you suppose that means?
3/8 inch off. Oh,
Yeah, 3/8. So this is the 2 by stud, right?
right.
Behind the plywood. And the
Right.
plywoods are splitting the stud. This is coming, these two pieces of plywood are coming halfway over it. And then the shear wall is covering the other half. So half of 1.5, the 2x4 is 1 and 1.5 across. Half would be what?
3/4.
First,
Yeah. So 3/8 would be half of that again. So
I
if you
see.
put, so if you put 3/8 from the edge here, you're gonna be sort of right in the middle of what's left for you to nail. And since you only have 3/4 nailing, you want to get it, not too close to the edge of the plywood or the edge of the stud. So
Does somebody really do that? Do they sit there and like snap a line and like 3/8 off the edge or like?
they might, because this can't be covered up until an inspector comes and until Donna comes to your house and she's there doing a shear wall inspection, and she goes, and a lot of these nails are too far away from the crack, and they hit the stud and they bounce, they go through the stud at an angle and bounce out to the inside, right?
Right.
You know how
So
a
is that
nail
what
is
they're
when you-
doing? Are they like snapping a line and then like?
Well, they
nailing off?
might, unless they're sure they can nail straight, but they've got a gun and they've got to be pretty accurate, because if you have any nails coming out, Donna's going to look at those. She's going to circle them and say, re-nail this wall here, because half the nails are not really into the stud. But look at all the information. I mean, we haven't even touched this information yet. Pretty amazing, huh?
Yep.
Okay, then we need solid where the sheathing goes sideways, which is more typical in California, Southern Cal. We need blocking where the two sheets meet. And that's what this note is for. Sometimes they'll want a 3x blocking in there. Then moving around to this side,
Is that just so it has more to grab? Like,
yeah. They may want to make sure that the nailing's more solid. This doesn't say, it says where noted. So we have to see, we'll look at the plan and see if there's any notes for blocking that's like that. Then there's that X again going this way, right? So you can actually tell by the X, the shape of the X, if the piece is vertical or horizontal, the piece of sheetrock. Plywood or OSB shear panels, see shear wall schedule, we just did that. 2x solid blocking required there. 2x studs at 16 on center. So this house, if it's 2x6 studs, it would probably be 24 on center, but the shear wall could very well be 16 on center, because it's going to be denser nailing and it might be denser backing too. So all that kind of stuff you have to read. There's no way you would intuitively know any of this. It's all from what the engineer and the architect designed it to be. And then here's a picture of a hold down for you. We talked about those, didn't we, one point? So is
Yeah.
everybody here?
yes.
Okay. So before they invented hold downs, it was in my lifetime, they just had anchor bolts. And they had anchor bolts with washers that look like that, not the big honking 3-inch washers. So when an earthquake came, it would usually, a severe earthquake could pull up through that washer and just take the whole wall, bottom and top plate and studs together. If this was a bigger washer, or it wasn't quite so strong an earthquake, it might leave the plate. But these studs in typical framing are just nailed from the bottom. If it's a 2x4, a couple of 16 penny nails, right? And they're going vertically. So what do you think the seismic pressure pulling on that's going to do with two shiny nails that are in the line of the pull? They're going to pull that wall. They're going to pull the studs right up, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have a nice bottom plate attached to the footing, to the stem wall. But then your whole house is going to be, in shambles, because these studs just pulled right up. And of course, they found that out. That's what made for the invention of these hold downs. Now, what these hold downs do is they attach the foundation to the studs themselves. or they require a post or a couple of studs or a 4x4. So that way, when the earthquake pulls, it can't pull this part of the wall up because it's got a bracket that's cemented into the ground. So it kind of bypasses the bottom plate and goes right to the wall. So that's something we learned. We learned the hard way from houses pulling apart in earthquakes. And these are strategically placed by where the engineers figure the biggest stress from an earthquake will be. And often that's on corners. So these are often at the corners of houses, but it could be almost anywhere. Garage door walls, a small garage door, you just have a foot and a half on either side of the door to the inside walls. That's not a very big wall to hold the front of your house. So those often have hold downs. Any other questions about this? That's a lot of information, right?
Yeah. When did those come into play? Those hold downs.
When what?
When did they start coming?
Well, I go by when builders were using them through my career,
Yeah.
but sometimes they were invented earlier and they just weren't used locally, or only a few people used them. But I don't remember them until maybe the 90s, 1990s.
So after Northridge.
Yeah, when was Northridge? 70s? Yeah. Yeah. So
No,
it could
it
have
was
been
no. Was it in '94?
no, Northridge was 70,
Nah.
71.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it could have been the 80s.
Oh,
And sometimes, like with the building code, sometimes we'll recommend these at first. And then they'll just get, over the years, they'll say, no, we're not going to recommend them. We're going to require them now. So it goes like that. But it hasn't been, well, that's 50 years, but I don't think it's been that long. Okay, so let's go back to the roof, not the roof framing. Roof framing. Oh. Oh, God. Okay. So let's go. Hey, Mike, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Mike and Ella, hold on.
Wait, were you talking to me?
Yes,
No, I was talking to Mike, the CT chair.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me.
There he is. Hey.
I'm here. I'm
Okay.
watching.
Okay. Yeah, well, we're deep in the heart of it. So are you learning anything, Mike?
Yeah, definitely. I always do. But tell me this though, like one of our houses actually did get damaged in I don't remember what earthquake it was in 88 in the Bay Area, and
Yeah.
after those hold downs were put in place, it causes different kinds of damage. It just doesn't
Oh, yeah, of course.
foundation as much.
Yeah. Hey, is Don, are you here? We have our resident inspector. I always ask her questions. She's a relatively
Okay.
new inspector, so she won't have the history, but I still like to bug her with questions, So let's see, anything else besides shear wall?
I had a question on that shear wall schedule.
Yeah,
It had some concrete information for and it had a symbol that I didn't recognize. It was like a circle with a line through it. A little further to the left,
yeah, okay.
right? Yeah. 5/8. I'm assuming that's rebar. At
Yeah, yeah.
is that the symbol for rebar? That's circle with a line through it.
I believe that's the on center symbol, a circle with a line through
Oh,
it.
okay.
So 5/8 at 12 on center.
So number 5's at 12 inches on center.
I don't know why it's backwards though.
And then it says anchor bolts at 32 inches on center.
Yeah, let's figure this out. The 48, they're 12 inches from the corner. And then and then past that, they're every 48 inches, not more than 48 inches. On this one. Oh, this is for the shear wall, yeah.
So that's saying 5/8 past the corner or a 12-inch on center. Number
Yeah,
5.
it's 12 inches, not more than 12 inches from the side. And then it's every 48 inches. So this shear wall, the one we looked at. This one here was 6.5 feet from the corner. So that has to have one bolt and it probably, no, it doesn't, I don't see a call for a hold down here, so it may not have it. But it has a 6.5 foot piece, so that would be two pieces, 4 foot and a 2.5 foot piece, right? Since they want them vertically. Can you see where I'm pointing the cursor? Here's the table. I'm going down to the building right next to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's the one we were looking at, the 1/6.5 feet. So that would be 6.5 feet from the corner of the building. No, it doesn't look like there's a hole down there. So you'd have to have an anchor bolt 12 inches from the corner, which is standard regulation. And then since it's 6.5 feet, you'd have to have another one within 4 feet. And they might call for another one 12 inches from the end of the wall. I'm not sure what that means, but
Do you know what an SSTB20 is off the top of your head? Is that just a 20-inch anchor?
no, where's that? Where is that?
It's pointing to the two anchors on the two hold downs in the wall. There's one right on the corner, the little note coming off it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. No, we could look them up. I've got the Simpson
It
catalog
looks
on my
like
desk.
it's an anchor bolt.
Yeah, that's the hold down and that's the bolt probably, yeah. Well, no, you know what that is? Those are the screws that go into the hold down. The SSTB20, and that's the hold down right there. And you would get the length of the bolt. I don't know if they specify it or not. There's probably a table and a detail for hold downs too. See if we can find it.
TV. It's one of those S-shaped 20-inch hold downs anchors.
The HDU2.
No, the SSTB.
Oh, that's the bolt.
Yeah, it's the S-shaped anchor bolt. It's a heavy duty one.
Okay, so this HDU2, the hold down, then probably specifies the screws that you can use. Let's get a picture. Where was that before? It was on the detail page. So here's the hold down. Typical. Does everybody see this on number 11?
Yes.
Yes.
So here's the hold down is this bracket and the long bolt, anchor bolt. So the length of the anchor bolt is what John was referring to.
Yeah, the SDU 20.
Yeah, see on the right here, there's the SSTB anchor, and then the 20 just tells you the length. So that's that. And then whatever that was, U to hold down, HDU.
I think it was HDU2. I think.
Yeah. And that would come with, they usually come with screws. And if they don't, they're Simpson screws. And if they don't, they would specify what, and you have to use the right screw for that.
It comes with a 1/4 by 2.5 inch SDS.
Okay, there you go. Now, so a 2.5 inch would be too big for a 2x4, right?
Yeah.
Because 2.5 would go an inch over 1.5. But this has got to be a 4x4 or two 2x4s as posts. So that's why they have a longer screw. Where do you have a catalog online, John, or do you have it?
I have one sitting on my desk.
Yeah, okay. I've got the catalog online, but I'm too lazy to shut down all these pictures and look at it. So thanks for looking that up. Okay, let's go back. Let's try to bore Mike and Nell as much as we can, okay? So he's too polite to say anything.
I'll just seem very smart to me. I'll talking all these things I don't know about.
Yeah, today we're doing foundation plans, and each week we take two different kinds of plans. So this week is foundation plan and details. So the foundation plans are full of details because obviously the foundation's the cornerstone of your house. So it's got to be done perfectly. So it's always well engineered and always has all these notes for different things. So let's see. Okay, so let's look at this one here. It's a circle and it says number 3 on S5. Yeah? Should we check that out?
I have a question. Is there a reason why when they're like the numbers go backwards? Like, why don't they just do 1, 2, 3, 4? Like they always like it goes from higher to lower.
You mean on the detail page?
Yeah,
Who's asking that?
Duke.
Duke. That's a great question. You know, I was looking at this. They vary. I was looking at this last night to prep for the class, and I was noticing the same thing. Some of them don't go. I think this is fairly normal to go from 1 on the right side up, but I've seen them go other ways.
Oh, okay.
I agree.
I've seen like
it'd
this
be
a lot
easier to
too.
start with 1 here on the left.
Yeah,
and
the
go
way we
across
read, I
and
mean,
then-
it makes sense.
Yeah, because we read. This isn't Hebrew. We read from left to
Yeah.
right. You know.
Yep.
So yeah, it's funny you know. That's why I asked who it was because it's funny you noticed that. I was thinking the same thing with a stupid plan. Okay, so that 3 over S5, that note is here, and I'll let me pick this up for you. Can everybody see this down here, bottom right?
Yeah.
Interior
Yep.
footing at east slab.
Yep.
So that was kind of a section. We'll go back and look at what it was, but the circle had a line going through the wall. So it's kind of a section view of what that wall looks like you're slicing the wall, and then you're looking at the slice here. So it wants to make sure you get all the rebar right. And so what you're doing is you're tying a slab to a footing. So you have to have rebar that goes a certain length of the stem wall and then goes over and connects the slab to it. And then these are rebar going, you know, away from they were cut by the slice also. These circles are, that's important to know too. The circles are where you've cut rebar. So it's going further down the length of that footing or Yeah, it's a footing because there's nothing underneath it. Usually footings are more square, and this would be a stem wall on a footing, but this says it's a center line wall footing. So this is the footing here. Yeah, they call these number 3 rather, dowels. Now, rebar. Oh, this could be useful to you guys. So rebar comes in different diameters, right? Do you
Yeah,
all know? Do you all know what rebar is?
yes.
Okay. It's that big bin outside of Home Depot, and it's got all these 20-foot long, gnarly steel bars, and they kind of have little ripple patterns on them. So they're all measured in eighths of an inch. So when you have a number 3, that means 3/8 of an inch. So that's a small diameter. If you had number 5, it'd be 5/8, a little bigger than a ½ inch. Okay, so that's how you size rebar. And these are called dowels because they just fit into an opening.
Hey, Professor, sorry to interrupt. Would you mind adding Katie to multi-pin
Oh.
as well? She arrived.
Is she here now?
She's here. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind
No,
adding her,
not
that'd
at
be
all.
great.
Not
Thank
at
you
all.
so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem.
Thank
So
you.
let me see. I need. And there she is. And allow to multi-pin. There you go, Katie.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. You started to sign thank you, didn't you? But I couldn't read it. Hey, Mike Ganella, do you know any sign language? It's too bad you can't watch these guys. Well, can you see her? Can you see the signer? Yeah, it's amazing. We've got 2 signers that follow each other, Lindsay and Katie, and then we've got a Debbie. Where is she? A captioner that does like a stenograph in a court. So we've got 3 talented women here that are working with us. They're really great. Okay, so let's see. You guys are all set up, so I'll go back. You haven't had enough of the foundation, huh? Boy, you guys are gluttons for punishment, I'll tell you that. Okay, let me share that. Okay, back. So in every section, obviously, of this foundation, look at the differences. Here's a slab that sits on a footing, a smaller slab. Actually, it's a walkway, but it's thickened like a slab.
Thickened edge. They both got a thickened edge on them.
Yes. So let's talk about the 3 types of foundations common in this area. One would be a thickened edge slab. Who was that who said that? Marcos?
Duke again.
Duke again. Okay, Duke, thanks. Yeah, so thickened slab. A lot of our houses are on slab. My house is on a slab. And they just, because they need a footing for the walls on the outside, the slab has to bend down and be thicker. They don't always have this footing. Sometimes they just go down a little bit, and that's the footing itself. So they call that a thickened or monolithic because it's one pour. They pour the footing and the slab all together. So a lot of our houses in Santa Barbara that way. Here's another picture of one. They have all kinds of different slabs here. Let's see if I can find a raised. Of course, they're not going to have a raised platform here. Yeah, this particular building doesn't have any, so I'll show you it later. But we have the thickened slab, then we have a raised platform, and we could have a raised platform with cinder block or CM units on that. And I'll show you a picture of that later. But look at all these different details around this. Let me come out a little bit here. so look at this whole page is, you see this S5 page here?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 foundation details. Then we've got a bunch of truss and roof transition details. And you've got to look at all of these as you're learning the plan in order to build it, because there's just information you can't get from the large views, from the elevations or the sections. You know, you might have a section that looks something like this. We saw some sections in one of our plans, but they'll be bigger. This will take up a whole page, and you won't have the detail that you need. So they'll actually do another small detail. Let's see, S5, was there an S4? Yeah, look at another, above that was a page of details, foundation, joist, shear wall, plywood layout. Okay, before we look at some of these in detail, I want to look at some of them. Let's finish up with the foundation plan. Because your details, like we just looked at, aren't all foundation. They could be roofing or any number of things. Okay, these are all hold downs. These 4x4 posts go with the hold downs. See, look, they've got a 4x4 post and then they've got a double stud. So they even now are calling out. It used to be you could use either or at any time. And Donna, you're not here? I could get Donna to.
Yeah, I'm here. No, I'm
Oh,
here.
great. So can our 4x4 posts for a hold down member equivalent to 2x4 studs, or do they have to spell out one, or does the engineer have to spell out one or the other? Do you know?
Well, my engineer usually tells me what stud he wants the hold down attached to.
Yeah. And
So,
and he'll put double stud, or maybe replace it with a 4x4 post.
yeah, but if you're doubling up studs for a
Yeah.
hold down, usually there's a stitching pattern.
Yeah,
when
nailing
you're-
pattern to fasten them together. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
actually what
it's
yeah.
with SDSs or nails, but most of the time it's SDSs. But no one really does that for new construction.
They just use a 4x4.
They just use what the engineer calls out. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, that might have been.
Really starts to mess up the transfer when you start just using double studs,
Yeah.
especially when it's a 2-story structure, because those posts that the hold downs are attached to in 2-story construction usually have an MST strap that's transferring the load from the second story to the first story. So if you
Yeah.
were just to skip out and just try to double up studs, you're going to mess yourself up, because what is your MST strap going to attach to?
Yeah. Okay. Got you. Okay. Well, this plan happens to have both, or I don't know. I don't know how we'd have to go to the detail to see exactly, but I get you. It's just simpler to use 4x4 posts. They use bigger trees, but can't be helped. So this foundation plan's not that typical because it has all this wall framing hold down. It's because the hold downs are connected to the foundation that they do it on this plan, but shear walls go with the hold down. So, but often foundation plans won't, well, the house may not have that much shear wall, and so they won't include that in the foundation plan. We're going to look at a couple more foundation plans. Okay, does everybody see this?
Yes.
Yep.
So this is our temp.
Yep.
This is our classroom, our main set, the temp 004. And again, this is not all typical either because it's an educational plan. But one thing you'll see here is a lot of times foundations won't be strong enough. Like if you, can you see my cursor? It's up on the upper left now,
Yeah.
right here. You might want to have that bigger, right? It's just what you're going to tell me. So you've got joists that are going across here, floor joists. And if this area is, if you can't get a reasonable width joist to go across here, you might put a pier or a small footing here to rest a post to hold the middle of that up, right? Or that might hold well, we'll have to see what the floor framing plan is, but that's why you have piers to take up areas. This is a girder that's going all across. It says 4 post supports for roof girders. So that means there's going to be weight all the way down the roof. Remember, this was that house that had that big cupola and the big doodahs. So it's pretty high roof. So there's a lot of weight. So they've got this giant girder here, and it's in a pocket in the concrete. And then it's got steel columns every so often, every 9 feet, 9.5 feet across the whole thing. So you see these pads or piers often in foundations, and they're outlined because they're below, they're in the crawl space or the.
Is it always steel above those piers, or do they use wood sometimes? Or
Well, these days they're almost always using metal. One of the reasons they use metal is because they have adjustable. Sometimes the metal is adjustable, and so they can get it under there and adjust it to what they need. But they will call it out. So this calls out a 4-inch steel column.
oh, okay.
And then the footing, this particular footing, oh no, these bigger ones here are 3 foot by 3 foot by 18 deep. And then they've got a number 4 rebar each way, 3 of them each way. So they might have if this was a normal set of plans, they might have a detail for how they want the rebar to go. A lot of pads in this foundation here.
Yep.
And then these are pads for the decks. There's decks over here. And there's a deck here, a deck out here too. So these have, this is a concrete pier, a sonotube, like a 10-inch sonotube. They might have a pad for a hot water heater, solar tank. Look at this. I mean, you got to read, when you're studying these to start building, you just can't skip anything. So, and you need to take notes because some things are more valuable than others, and you'll be using the information at different times. So for instance, this calls for 2x6 pressure treated sill plate, and it calls for sill sealer underneath. I think, so Donna, is sill sealer required in between foundation and sill plates in Santa Barbara? We got to get her off her cell phone. Donna? Oh, Donna.
Yeah.
Yeah. If this was a 2x6 pressure treated sill plate, does the city require sill sealer underneath it?
No. Just for
Ah,
practice.
yeah. Okay. But they require some wind barrier of some kind. Okay.
Oh, do you mean your fire caulking at the bottom of the plate?
No, yeah, just, no, the caulking for the, between the concrete and the mud sill.
Well, they do that at installation.
Yeah, well, yeah, they put insulation on the inside.
You're
Spray
talking
it?
about that bead of caulk. Okay, the sealer that you're talking about is like when they paint the top of the footing,
No, I'm talking about that kind of
the
foam,
caulking.
the rolled foam stuff that they lay out along the wall and then put the pressure treated plate on it.
No one does that. They either some people will paint the bottom of the footing
Yeah,
like with the bitmouth sealer, and then at installation, I just verify that someone caulked the bottom plate.
yeah. But do you have a requirement for some kind of
No,
air
I don't.
barrier
And
there?
I don't enforce anything between the bottom plate and top of footing.
Yeah, okay, great. It's just a good thing to do, but it's not structurally, important. Okay, well, that's good to know. Those, I always thought those, you guys know what the sill sealer, the rollout stuff, that foam stuff that goes on the walls? You ever see that?
Yeah.
See, if this were at school, I'd just go in and get a piece. But it's not that great anyway, because if the top of the concrete's not real flat, that gasket just kind of follows the hills and valleys and leaves gaps anyway. So you can see why it's not required. It's a really good thing to insulate though, because you don't want air. If say you're trying to keep your basement air out of your basement and moisture, then that will come in there in that area. So you want to somehow put something there. But those old gaskets are not the thing. Okay, anybody see anything on here that they want to, that they have questions about?
Well, we covered a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of information on these. Okay, so let's take a 10-minute break and we'll come back and look at details. We won't spend a lot of time on details. Okay,
Sounds
so
good.
7:18. Come back.
Yeah.
Everybody got that?
7:18.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right,
Sounds
thanks.
good.
Mike Ganella, you keep changing.
Yeah, I don't go by Michael. I don't know why it goes on there automatically.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good.
This is my chat time. So
You
we can
should make
chat.
your cursor bigger. Do you know how to do that?
No, tell me right now.
I just did it. I have old man cursor. It's like, 50 font and yellow. You can change the color and it makes,
Yeah,
did
I was
that
just
for-
asking the class about that. Give me the info, man.
well, would you have a PC or a Mac?
I got a PC.
Okay, so go to settings, the little gear
I'll just
thing.
write it. I'll just write it down. I won't do it now.
No, you have to do it right now. I demand the change as your boss.
Okay, settings.
A little gear thing. Yeah, and then I didn't, inside the little, there's a little search bar. I just put in change cursor size and it just popped up. And then you
Yeah.
can just,
I
And it,
really
and it has
believe,
and it has color changes in that same place.
yeah.
I really think you could do it now, Patrick. I believe in you.
Patrick, this is Katie again. I'm so sorry. I don't even know how I did this, but it looks like I logged myself off. Could you multi-pin me again and then I'll get out of your hair?
Of course I could.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'll do that. That's great. You just did that, Mike, just now? I mean, this last
Yeah,
couple
I went-
weeks?
Well, just while I was listening to, I tried to figure it out again how I did it. And it's yeah, you just go to that settings and then enter change cursor size and
So,
it just
I
pops
ne-
up. It
I
takes
never would have done that because from my end, my cursor looks fine. And
Yeah.
so
I
I
don't know
depend
why-
on my class to tell me that they can't see anything. And they're real good at it.
Yeah.
It's usually delayed after 10 minutes of not seeing it, they go, oh, hey, we can't see anything. And then but they still get to it. So,
Well, my issue is the internet's a little slow sometimes, and I think
Yeah.
it's on my end. It's just
Yeah.
blurry because it's the bit rate's too low or something, and then
yeah,
assuming it's me.
yeah. Well, yeah, there's always that too.
No, you should always blame the teacher.
Yeah. I'm going to write that down for later.
Unless I have
And
you
put
as
it
a
on your
student.
computer. Always blame teacher, especially in Zoom lectures.
Right,
Always.
well,
Well, the Zoom, we're intruding on your territory, on your young classmate, your young class people. Because, well, Mike may be hip, but I'm a lot older than Mike, so I'm, I lived a huge part of my life before computers came on.
yeah, it's crazy.
Well,
I don't like spending the time. That's my problem. I have other things I have to do. When I have to spend an hour trying to find a way to change something.
I think everyone feels like that, even students, where we all have to spend so much more time on the technical part, which isn't
Yeah.
part of the content
Right,
of what we're gonna
right.
learn.
That's right. That's right.
And then
Well-
for those of us that didn't grow up with a brain that was used to a computer, yeah, we're even slower at it.
Yeah. Well, when my son was at home, it was great because I just whistle for him and he'd come in and 2 seconds he'd have everything tracked down. But now that I'm on my own, it's like I have to recruit poor John to do everything for me. And only he's on the other side of the screen, so it's
I'm getting paid, right?
yeah, of course.
We just run that through Mike and
Knowledge is a type of currency, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But I like what you were doing. I'm just going to give you feedback right now in front of everyone. But
Okay,
like
sure.
when you look at a blueprint, it's always like a whole team of people and experts that build a building. So you have to have different people interpreting and telling you what to do. You got to talk to people. You can't
Yeah.
know everything. So
Yeah, well, I try to tell them where they are. If they're new at a company and they're new carpenters, they just follow the orders of their team leader. They don't have to think much. But the next step is to have a little group of your own that you supervise, and then you may have to interpret the plans for them. That's really or if you're low band in the low rung, but your supervisor goes away for the day, explains it all, and then says, I'll be back at 5, you make sure it's done. And all you've got is a set of plans, then it'd be helpful if you knew how to read those plans and interpret everything.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But there's, usually, like it's kind of like with these CTE classes, we rarely have, I tell my students, rarely are you going to be put on the spot like you are in a test, in school. Usually you have sources, there's people you can call, you can, so you figure it out.
Yeah. Sometimes.
True.
I used to go in the 70s when I worked in Hollywood. For a framing company, I used to go in on a Saturday. People didn't work Saturdays too much then. And I would pre-cut all the headers and sills and sometimes roof rafters. And then Monday, the framing crew would come and put them all together. I'd leave them in places on the site. And one time I misread the plan and I cut a whole roof of rafters short. Man, was I sick. I went home. I was so sick. And my boss was a really cool guy. And he said, well, just cut them back to the nearest even foot and we'll take them back to the lumberyard. Of course, I had to do that too without pay. But
I mean, that happens. Everyone's a number of times, you just totally botch it. It's hard though. It's not fun. What did you like go over and over that and try to figure out what you did wrong, like why you did that?
Oh yeah. Well, when you first start roof framing, it's pretty awesome. There's a lot of stuff to know. It's easy to, all you have to be off is a couple inches and everything's bad. Hey, Adam, Adam, what's his last name? The guy who did the pergola in the garden?
Graham of Arroyo Seco.
Graham, Adam Graham. We're gonna hire him to work on our association.
Which association? Trade art?
No, Winchester Commons, where I live.
Oh, what are they gonna do?
He's just gonna design some ideas for common area and front yard things.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're really good, but they're not cheap.
No, but he was reasonable. He was in the ballpark of some of the others, so.
Okay.
But he looks like he knows his stuff. It's funny, I'd never met him over all those years. You probably kept telling me to go see him for this or that, but I never did.
He's like a super brain. I mean, he knows so much. He talks over my head constantly, but he's really nice. And they do like, he's hard to work for because he's really a perfectionist and his work
Yeah.
is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does.
Well,
a lot of
he looks
fancy
smart,
things.
so that's one of the things we wanted,
Well, I've been in his class and I've evaluated him too. And like, he's kind of one of those teachers that doesn't know that everyone isn't as smart as him. So he has a little bit, it's a little harder for him to relay the content
Yeah.
to the students, because he's just so, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. I mean, every teacher has that problem, right? But
No, I don't think I do.
No?
I don't think, I'm
no, I
very,
mean, that problem is there to begin with because you know so much more. Some people naturally can break it down and others have to work on it, but it's always an issue, I think.
yeah, I think more that I'm one of those people that's pretty smart, but not really smart. So I'm able to really relate to my students that don't know the topic as well. So I can explain it on the simple level, but some of my students, they go off and they know more than I do about stuff.
Yeah.
Of course, that always happens. So that's great.
Oh, yeah. No, it's the same with me. I get guys who have been working for 20 years, and or like Donna, like I'm not in the field anymore, I haven't been for 10 years and, the regulations change quite a bit. And so usually I ask Jim because he's usually around at school when we're working at school. And because he's still building, he usually knows the current regulations, but now I have to ask Donna during class. It keeps her busy though.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to sign off now, even though I want to talk more to you.
Yeah. Well,
Later.
we still have that. Hey, you got your vaccine already?
No, I haven't gotten it.
Oh, you haven't. I thought you had.
No, I'm
But,
still a big carrier.
Yeah, but it won't be long. As soon as I get my first or second, let's get together and have lunch or something,
Okay.
or
Sounds
whenever
good.
both of us are comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, Mike. Talk to you later. He's a good guy. Huh?
Did you pass?
Yeah. He's really a great guy. He's one of the teachers I like the best at the campus. We've always been really close.
You
He's
know,
He's the chair of environmental horticulture,
Ah,
and he was available to also take on temporary chair of construction. So it's good. I like him. So we get along.
he reviewed green building last year, right? Or something?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was probably reviewed back then too. I mean, I don't know why they're doing it so often. They've got this schedule, right? And it's probably been on the books for 50 years. And nobody ever goes around and says, oh, that's ridiculous. These guys are old time teachers. They don't need to be checked so often. But they don't do that. Okay. Let's, now that Mike's gone, we can go home early. So let's go to details and we're We're not going to look at all the details because that's not what this class is about. Although the details we've gone over, I'm sure you're all learning stuff about, shear walls and hold downs, and that's all important stuff. That's even important for beginning carpenters. Some of you are beginners, some of you have some experience behind you, but so let's go to this doesn't sound right, but we'll try it anyway. So my notes say S1, not SD1. It says SD1. It doesn't make sense. Well, anyway, here's a good picture of a raised floor foundation. You can all see this, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, this one here, exterior footing, raised wood floor, number 10. It's right in the center of the picture. You can all see that?
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah.
I see it now.
That's better.
Okay. I can go even more. So, every wall in a house, in a house in an area of population that's controlled by a building department, let's put it that way, requires a footing under that wall. And that's a piece of concrete that's wide so that all the weight of the wall, 1 story, 2 story, the roof, everything that comes down this wall will ultimately rest, the weight will go to this footing. Footing's wide. So why is the footing wide?
So it doesn't
Wider than
sink-
the stem wall on the wall.
So it doesn't move or sink, or it's just
Yeah, so it doesn't sink or move, exactly, because it's a lot harder. If you have a narrow thing like this narrow, or even this narrow, it's liable to push into the soil more. So they require a footing. These are all pretty standard. Sometimes you can pour a footing and they show keys at the bottom, so it's a little space. And then when you pour the stem wall next as a second pour, they kind of lock together. They don't allow that anymore. You have to have rebar coming up if you pour these separately. But no one ever does that because it takes time for concrete to set, and you lose all that work time. So they do an integrated foundation with the footing and the stem wall. So it's an upside down T. You can see the top of the T here and the thing here. So they used to call them upside down T or T foundations. But when you have a stem wall like this, because you're trying to get the house above the ground, usually the ground is even or close to the top of the footing. And then the stem wall separates the ground, the landscaping from the building for a couple of reasons. One is you have siding comes down maybe a little bit past that joint. You don't want it to get too close to where water can splash up or actually touch it. and cause, wood rot problems. So they require a minimum space in here. And then you also want space to crawl around to fix things underneath the house. So you have a crawl space. So those are the main reasons. And then they put an opening somewhere in the wall where you can crawl in. And you might have plumbing under there, any number of things. You might want to check the foundation for some reason. You might want to go down and say hello to the black widows who hang out around there. These screens that go in these walls, I don't know if you've ever been under a crawl space through a screen. The black widows love to hang around the edge of that screen, and they get all the flies and bugs that are coming through. Just a warning for you.
Fun fact.
Don't worry about black widows. They hurt and they may make you sick for a few hours, but they rarely kill anyone.
Is that a pro tip?
What's that?
Is that a pro tip?
Yeah. Okay, so on top of this stem wall, we call this the footing and this the stem wall. It's a little wall that's above it. You're going to put a floor system. When you have a slab, you don't need a floor system because the walls go right on the slab. But when you raise the foundation, you have to have a floor that takes the place of the slab. So you need a little sill. And since Douglas fir or whatever wood we're using can't sit against concrete because water can wick up from concrete. If concrete gets wet, it'll wick up water. That will get the sill plate wet and it will break down over time. So you want to separate that. In the old days, they used to use oak and sometimes redwood for sills, especially oak. Back east, they used to use oak because it's very strong and it's pretty rot resistant. Here with Douglas fir, we treat it, pressure treat it so it's green or brown, and we have to use that when it's against the concrete. And then on top of that sill, you're going to put your joist and your joist headers, end joists, rim joists, and do the whole floor system. So that's what a raised foundation looks like. So the slab and this raised foundation are the two most common foundations here. Sometimes this stem wall will be made with block wall. So they'll put a footing down and they'll put rebar up, and then they'll put the block on the rebar and fill it and do of course, or 3 a block to make the space. Sometimes they might have a basement. We don't have a lot of basements in this area, but that basement could be a stem wall. It's 8 feet, or it could be block wall from this footing on up to 8 feet, and then a floor system above that. So, but it's usually those two kinds of systems. Now let's go out. Okay. I think I got my wires crossed, so hold on. I know it's hard to imagine that could happen, huh? Okay, so back to the second set of Chumash plans, the full set. And we're going to go to I have A6, is that right? No. Okay. This is not the most orthodox set of plans, as far as I'm concerned, but so you can see this pretty well, yeah?
Yep.
So notice this symbol? It's another hexagon.
Where are you?
Yeah,
pointing?
we can see that.
Upper left.
You want a little darker? How's that?
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you suppose this is referring to? It's going to be the 29th picture on page A6. But just where it's located, what do you think that refers to?
It's the same thing I said the other one was.
Door schedule. That one's in the
No.
doorway.
Yeah, it's a doorway. The other one was a hex, but that's what I'm trying to get you to see is that they can interchange the shapes, and they just have to put a key or make it obvious what it is. Most people don't get fooled, but you have to. So this looks like it's in the doorway. So I would check the other doorways. Yeah, there's one there. There's one here. I would check all the hexagrams, and yeah, they're all okay. So those are the doors. Now, how about this one here? The box. It's got the number and then the page.
Where are you pointing?
Center, top. You see it?
Yes.
Okay. 45 over A6. And then over
The
to the
window?
right is 43 over A6. What do you think those are?
Windows?
Windows, yes. So when you see a symbol and you think you know what it is, just go around and make sure that's really what it is. And that at every other place there's a window or a door, they have the same kind of symbol. Because they're not standard. The shape's not necessarily standard. They have to distinguish the shape so it's easy to, to find them. And so they'll just use any contrasting shapes. Okay, so let's go to A6. Both the windows and the doors are on the detail page A6. Now, or I'm sorry, that's probably the door schedule. And we're not talking about schedules tonight, but we're going to make an exception for A6 here. Just so you guys know where these are referring to. So A4, A5, A51, A6. Okay. So this is a window and door schedule page, and we'll look at these. I don't know if it's next week or let's see. No, it's after the midterm. But so the window, or we could take the door. So door number 1, wherever that was on the plan, it would be 1 on top and then A6 on the bottom because we're on page A6. So 1, and it says type G, right? So then you got to go down to what I say, G?
Yeah.
So that's this entry. So that'll show you what the doors are like. Shows you the height. And all of these, there's all of these types of doors and windows. And these are all the different types there are. So every hex symbol on that plan will be referring to one of these types of windows. And one of these types of doors, and every hex will refer to doors, and every square, 2 over A6 will refer to windows. And it'll be one of these types of windows. They just repeat.
Why was there a fixed window with a screen on the window schedule?
Where does that, on the schedule itself?
Yeah.
On here?
Yes. Over on the left.
Yeah. Where does it say screen?
Line 5.
Oh. What's G, what do you suppose GL is?
Tempered glass, maybe?
Glass?
Yeah, it's tempered.
Okay. Where does does it have a note? Well, up here.
It says fixed in notes.
Yeah. So you want to know where 5 is?
Yeah.
So it's window number 2. So it looks like this. It's a 30610. And let's go back and look at where 2 is.
Why would a fixed window have a screen? Doesn't that mean the window doesn't open?
Yeah, I can think of a reason.
So it looks the same as the other one?
So it looks the same as the others. That's the only reason I can think of. Where's that bloody floor plan? Here it is. What number was that? 5? Was 5, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So here's 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Want to have a race to see who can find it first?
I see a 4.
I-
Is it
Now,
over-
you know, it may not be on, maybe it was on the upper story. Yeah? Remember that? There's some windows up there. It's not one of those ones. It's more like this window could be. I don't know. Well, you know, they do make mistakes in these occasionally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be next to a, it could be one of these, huh? It looked, the shape was like one of these next to a door. So I think it's because just to make it all look alike.
Hmm.
Also to fool burglars too. So it was so 5. Oh,
Just-
Upper Breezeway. Ah, there it is. So it looks like it's this one here, and they just put a bunch of them together
Or is it right up to the right of there?
here.
Yeah. Can you zoom in?
Yeah, but yeah, I can.
Oh, it's a 1.
It didn't say. I don't know what's that. Yeah, it's not critical that we find that out, but we'll give it one last shot, okay?
This is starting to feel like work.
But okay. Yeah, okay, it's a 5080. Okay, there, that's that one you pointed to. Because this one over here, that's the fixed breezeway. That's the little ones I was pointing to, so it's the bigger one.
Hmm.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
We'll go up and find it, and then that'll be it for that. This one right here. Looks like it's 5 feet.
Yeah,
That'd
definitely.
make that 2.5 feet, and that would be 4 feet. Okay. Yeah, these are probably openable down here, and they just want it to match with the. Yeah, I wonder if a screen would protect the window too from people throwing rocks. Okay, so what we didn't look at, did this have a detail page? Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is interesting. So this detail page, A7, and these numbers probably refer to things on the floor, on the elevations or sections. But notice how the scales, there's no scale. Here there's a scale, 1/4 inch to a foot.
Mhm.
Some of these don't have a scale. That's interesting, huh?
Yeah.
Wonder why not. So that's a section, so we don't need that. ADA. Okay, here's a foundation plan. Did we look at this one yet? Yeah, we
No.
did. Yeah, we did out of the shear wall, remember?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't representative in other ways. So here's so these don't have scales either. These details on this page, but they kind of are self-explanatory. You know, they don't really need, you know, it tells you 48 max for this shear wall and a 3 by sill. So you don't, and that tells you what the on-center framing is. So you really don't need scales on a lot of these, right? All the information is kind of listed in annotations.
What's 835? This type of bracket?
Yeah, it's a little angular one, like an L, except
Uh,
it's longer.
oh.
So, hold on a second. So this is what John's got in his room. And so I don't think we've talked about this in this class, but in the other, we talk about it a lot in other classes, but this is a company, you can see this, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a company that pretty much has the stranglehold on framing hardware. There's a few other companies, but these guys are so big. And because they've gotten big, they have a lot of extra money, and they've created shake machines, you know, to test out things. And they've done a lot of, they've been able to purchase a lot of engineering testing equipment. So that it even makes them more, you know, more thorough. But anyway, so this has hangers for everything. I was going to look at the 835. It's got new stuff. I mean, its catalog's huge, so let's see if we can.
It's 280, 281.
Thank you.
It would have been fun to see you scroll that far, though.
I say that would have took a while.
So this is a great catalog online. It's free, and it's just invaluable for framers and builders, because when the plans call out for something, they'll just call out like this, SSP, and you don't know what that necessarily what that is, or whether the local hardware store has it. So you can double check it on here. Would you say down 288?
280 to 81.
Okay, here's an A35. Is that what you asked for, Alec, or whoever asked that?
Yeah, that was me. Dude.
Okay, so that's an 835 there. If you need it to be less long, say the wood's not big enough like here, you can use an 834.
Okay. I see.
If the building inspector approves it. So yeah, so this is your, any place where you can't get say you want to hang this on here and you can't, this is against the wall, so you can't get a hanger around both sides of this, then you'd put an A35 on one side. So it acts as half of a hanger often. See, like here, sometimes the engineer won't require a full hanger, but he will want a little bit of connection, so he'll specify an A35 instead.
Got
But
it.
so this has everything, and it's really great because it has pictures of where you would use it. So if you want to figure out, you have a problem situation like here, and you go, oh, they make one that's we used to just pound them open. We take the A35 and beat the crap out of it into the angle there, but they don't like that anymore. So you actually have to have one that's bent in the factory, which is probably what all this here means. So, yeah, now you cannot mangle any of this hardware, or you're liable for its failure. But this catalog has stuff on decking, the right way to deck and the various hardware you can use. It's just invaluable. So it's a great learning thing. So if you're learning about this, you can just browse through it, when you have some time, little section at a time, and you learn a lot about framing just because this will show how things are put together. Okay. Okay. One more and then we'll go. Can you do it?
Yeah.
Of course.
Sure.
Of course. I love it. Let's see. Oh, darn. Okay. Yeah, okay. This, oh, where'd it go? Why isn't that showing up? Okay. Now this is the temp set you have. And this is the first detail page. And remember, this is the educational set, so you would never have most of this stuff on a detail plan. But I wanted to show you one thing on this, and then you can look at the others, like this is temp 10, and I think 11 and 12 are also detail pages, so just look those over. But this page talked about advanced framing. And John, did we talk about advanced framing in this class much before?
Other than 24, no, I don't think we have in this one.
Well, we did that framing primer, before remember, we might have mentioned it there, but if you look on this temp 10 on the top here, the top middle of that page, it talks about conventional stud framing to what they used to call optimum value engineered, OVE, but we've shortened it to advanced framing. And I'm just going to point out a few things in this because this is really the way we're going. But architects will just put doors and windows in a wall where they think is a good place. Like it might be there might be a room here and this door's in the center of the room. They're design ideas, but that may mean that your layout, and let me make this bigger, sorry. Can you see this better now?
Yeah.
Want me to make it even bigger? So on this standard wall, here's the layout, 16 on center, 16 to here, and then the door skips a few inches, but then you got to continue the layout 16, so that cripples on 16 on center, that cripples on 16, that studs on 16, and it's not even touching that trimmer, right? So, and then it's 16 on center. Then here, same thing for the window here. It's not on a 16, the one edge. So you have extra studs in here that you don't need. So what advanced framing says is, well, why don't the architects line this up so that at least one side of the window or door is on a stud. They can use the stud for a king stud, right? And then at least you're saving one stud per side of a window or door. The width of a window or door isn't necessarily going to come out even so that you could have both sides. That would be rare, unfortunately. Someday maybe we'll module all the windows and doors so they will do that, but we haven't done that yet. But so they say, well, so do the layout so every window and door hits on a layout. The king stud, the side stud is one of the layout studs, and then you don't need any more wood. Y'all see that?
Yes.
Yep.
And then this one, they do an additional thing. They get rid of the trimmer next to the king stud by putting a hanger. So you can hang that ledger on a Simpson strong tie hanger because it's got a bottom that holds it up, and all the weight, that'll distribute the weight without, you don't need a trimmer to the ground underneath that. This header hanger is been engineered and approved to be strong enough to do that. So you get rid of the two trimmers. So in this one thing, you've gotten rid of 3 full-length pieces of wood. So that's pretty good savings, right?
Yep.
3 more here, 3 more here. So in this wall, you're going to save, 10 pieces of lumber. That's pretty good saving. Plus, you'll have more space for insulation. So those are 2 techniques. And then, so this, these details aren't from anywhere. They're just showing, ways to insulate on a cantilever. So you look over those on your own, all these detail pages. I won't do it just because it's stuff you can learn. But I do want to go to,
Hey, Patrick.
Yes.
Off the top of your head, what's the Simpson name for the header hanger? Do you know?
no,
Oh.
I would call it a header hanger and see how far that gets you. So here's these files are in your file. I'm just going to go over these 3 pages and then we'll go home. So a normal corner, this bottom picture, number 3, probably you want that.
We can't see it.
This is so weird. Can you see that?
Nope.
Nope.
Thing is, when I enlarge it, I can't get back to it.
Hmm.
That's interesting. It's not going to do us any good, is it? Okay, let me try something here. You can't see it at all?
No, just you right now.
What's that?
Just your face. It's just showing your face now.
Oh, you can't see it all together. Not that it's too small.
Right.
Okay, sorry. I got you. Okay, now can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So this 3 picture, this is looking down at 2 walls coming together, outside walls. This is the corner, obviously that's what they call this intersection. And they say it's a 2x4 wall. This wall coming this way would have one end stud because every wall has to have an end stud to hold it together. And then this wall had an end stud, but then they put blocks in here and another stud here, and that makes nailing. This is 3.5 and this is 4.5. So you have 1 inch for drywall nailing, right?
Yeah.
But you don't have any insulation in that whole area. So you're losing that. And I'll show you how the insulation works. So instead of that, they say, well, what if you just put a stud on the end, a stud on the end, and put a drywall clip that's a little clip that nails into this stud in 3 places, middle, top, and bottom. And it has a little part that sticks this way. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Then you put this piece of plywood against that metal part that holds it in place. And you nail this further down. Say there's a stud here, you nail the drywall in down there. Then when you put this piece of drywall, it's going this way, you ram it up against that tight. And then you nail this into there and down. And this piece holds that end in place. And it won't go into the wall because these clips are holding it from going into the wall. So this is the most efficient type of corner. Then you can get insulation all the way up to that stud. And that'll really make this corner warmer. So same thing with a channel where the partition in the middle of a wall comes to an outside wall. They usually have an end stud, and then they have a stud. I didn't draw it. They usually have a stud here for nailing for drywall and a stud here. Too much wood. Now you can just put the drywall clips in and just use this end stud, put nothing in here, and have the drywall go against the drywall clips here. And you've got all that room for insulation. So that really is a great deal. When they decided to get rid of this traditional corner, they said, well, let's do a corner and then we'll put just one this way, the other angle, and that'll act as a drywall nailer, and we can get insulation behind it. But if you spray an insulation, that'll work okay. Although this is all, the warm air will go through this wood here. But if you use fiberglass bats, which is still the most common insulation, it will gap over that and create a triangle of open space because that fiberglass can't fill in there. It's fairly rigid. So it just kind of goes up like that. Here it's compressed, which does sacrifice a little bit of its insulation, but this is the worst part because hot air in the room comes to the wall, and when it goes through the wall, instead of going through insulation like here and taking a long time to get out, here it hits this cold spot because there's no insulation here. And the top plate above this is cold, wood's colder. So the air goes into that triangle and goes straight up, toward you and out the top plate, and you lose all this area for insulation. The air doesn't go into this area then. And so you lose all of this insulation value. So it's really important. This advanced framing is really a good technique. People are slow to adopt it, but it's pretty important.
So a lot of people are still doing the conventional way. Is that what's
Yeah.
you're saying it's more common?
Yeah. And
To add the extra studs and to do all that
right.
extra.
And in Santa Barbara, it's not the end of the world because the weather's so good. But if you live in a place where let me show you another. If you live in a place that's colder. No, wrong one. Yeah, here.
All that counts, all the little insulation.
All
those
that
little
counts,
corners.
exactly. There you go. So this shows you this shows you when you have a channel like this, which is kind of a weird, sometimes I put this on for siding on the outside, but it's less, see the fiberglass creates these gaps when you try to get it in there. And these gaps are just, they're called thermal bridges, and they'll just obviate this whole corner. So this is a bad corner. This corner is good, see, because you've got, when the air hits here, it's got insulation all around it, and it's only got this one stud. You can't do without that stud, so you don't have any choice. But this is a much better insulated corner, and than this, or the three piece. With 2x6 walls, they usually don't put 3 studs in a row because that wouldn't make it to be nailing for the drywall, because the 2x6 wall is wider. So they usually take a 2x6 and put it on an edge like this, and that will make it over the edge. But then you've got the problems with the triangle here. And let's see, one more. This one. So